we made it through the border crossing. They let me into Canada, which is a good thing. And we're now at 49th Parallel at their roastery, and we're excited to go inside, have a little tour, talk to some of the folks in there, have a tasting, and especially talk with Laura, their green bean buyer. She travels the world, and I'm sure has to do a lot of cupping, a lot of traveling, and a lot of interaction to get the best beans for their blends. So join me inside. Let's go check it out. We are privileged to be at 49th Parallel Roasters, and we have Laura, which is their green bean buyer. A wealth of knowledge here. And what are we drinking today?
Hey, Gail. Yeah, so I decided to brew for you guys Piedras Amarillas. It's from Honduras. It's from a region called Santa Barbara. Mm-hmm. And it has a fascinating
it's very
history.
Good.
Yeah, so I'll take you back to maybe 2005. So this region wasn't on the map prior to that year. And there was a group called Beneficio San Vicente, a mill that worked with a whole bunch of small farmers in the region, and they decided to send one farmer's coffee to Cup of Excellence. And at that time, no one knew how to wash the coffee. Cherry would just come down from the mountain, and that would be that. And it was known as not a very good region for coffee. But turns out they were sitting on a gold mine, because with that year, a gentleman named Natividad Benitez won Cup of Excellence with his coffee, and we've been working with that gentleman for since 2011.
Nice.
Yeah, and this is another gentleman named Elio Diaz, who is
from that same region, same co-op or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, so from a different mountain, but fairly close, maybe about a half an hour drive from the mill. And he had been a cattle rancher up until a couple years ago. I met him in 2014 when I was doing a project with another farmer in the area.
What's the elevation? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so it's not super high up. It's between 1,600 to 1,800 meters. And that should be okay, but what makes it really, really good is its microclimate. It's kind of juxtaposed between Lago Yohoa. It's a big lake that looks like a kidney bean
I'm glad she can pronounce all these,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, right?
Yeah, so it's between that lake and Santa Barbara National Park. So between this lake and these mountains, constantly there's a cooling, misty air that comes in every afternoon and slows down the maturation of the fruit. So it's really sweet. Yeah.
Perfect. Nice.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's been the most interesting place you've ever gone to purchase green beans, or at least check the region out? Yeah, okay.
I don't know. There's a lot.
We just sprung this question on her, there's no thinking about it.
Yeah, I would say Ethiopia is my favorite region in terms of looking at varieties, because it looks like nothing else. I mean, most farms that I visit in Colombia or Central America or what have you, more or less they have a similar look. They're they practice more agronomic practices, and you use fertilizers, and there's a method to the madness.
It's all over the board, or
I mean they're harvesting from forests in front of their houses. It's 50 to 100 trees. It's quite a bit different. So when I have the virtue of going in and looking at those varieties, I'm constantly impressed and wondering, what's this one? That looks like geisha. There's little leaves coming out of the tip of the cherry, or
interesting.
Because there's over 6,000 different strains coming from that typical lineage.
Sure.
In Ethiopia, it's really, really cool.
Nice, cool.
Yeah.
So, when you go to a region, how long are you typically there? Depending on how many, I suppose, farmers you're going to meet with.
It depends on the reason why I'm there. For example, for Ethiopia, I'm there quite a bit longer, especially because we're deciding to, instead of focusing on the Ethiopian commodity exchange and their auction system, for lack of a better word, with private mills and
Yeah.
that kind of thing, that
Yeah.
they lose their transparency.
Sure.
We work with cooperatives more often than not, and because of that, we're getting into politics with the unions that overarch those cooperatives, and
Sure.
we're wanting to make sure that we get the lots that we would like, and
Yeah, sure.
and that involves talking to quite a few people. So I'm there for the better part of a month.
Oh, a month or so. Wow.
Yeah. However, in Guatemala, for example, I can hammer together a container in a few days.
Yeah. Nice.
A lot more cupping, mind you.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
What makes you guys unique, do you think?
I would say that, I mean, we're very lucky to have enough size that they're able to, have somebody like me on board.
Yep.
That can really dig into the sourcing program.
Sure. Not just like one person going down and, like some of the smaller roasters in our area, the really micro small, it's one or two people.
Yeah.
And they go down, they travel, they source out the beans and they come back. So you do have
That's
an
awesome.
advantage there.
I suppose so. I mean, I think because we're able to source full containers, I'm
Yep.
able to, work with logistics a bit more intimately. And if, for example, we have a few coffees on the water coming from Colombia,
Mm-hmm.
and I've talked to the mill that we work with in Tulula. It's right next to Buenaventura near Cali, which is, I've never been to Cali specifically.
Mhm.
It's just a party town, but this mill's very interesting because they haven't yet worked with separating specific screen sizes. So you'll notice when you open a bag of beans, some beans are really big,
Across.
some beans are really small,
Yeah.
and typically when a buyer speaks with a mill, they'll say, "Hey, can you do screen size 15 and up,
Sure.
or 14
Well,
and up, or what have you?"
That makes your roasting more consistent.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're shipping out the 17s in one lot, the 16s in another lot, the 15s in another lot, and so on. And this is a small producer group out of Nariño that we're doing this with. So we're pretty excited to be able to work with
Nice.
such a specific, size
Yep.
and density of coffee.
And then
Yeah.
when you say you have green beans coming via water,
Yep.
how do you measure it? Is it kilos? I mean, what kind of a lot are we talking?
Oh, sure.
Huge?
I'll think in bags,
Okay.
but when I go
Yep, a
down,
bag of coffee.
but when I go down and visit a farmer, I can, we'll look at the amount of cherry or fruit that's on the trees, and typically you're going to get a pound of roasted coffee out of a tree
I see.
for
I
that
see.
yeah.
harvest.
cycle.
I see. So that's
and
not,
that-
that's
and
not
that-
huge.
No, it's not. I mean, you think about the weight loss of the cherry itself.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Yeah.
there's this parchment layer that has to come off,
Mhm.
and then you have
Sure.
to think about sorting and was there a broca or coffee berry borer infestation that year? Or,
Yeah. So really, it's the initial growers, plantation owners. They're probably not. They're only getting just a fraction out of that compared to the. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got to be split up in so many ways. You guys have to go down. You have to
Yeah.
negotiate for the cherries on the tree, and then you've got to negotiate to get it here. You've got to now roast it. I mean, the whole thing is got to be. You're breaking it down into little pie segments, and so probably nobody is really getting a big chunk. The original growers.
Yeah, I mean, for us, the most important thing that I'm looking for when I source is to be able to go back to the farmer and, say,
Sustainability.
how much did you get?
Yeah,
Price per pound.
Yeah.
What does that mean for you?
yeah, exactly.
And
Because they're not living, they're
Yeah.
not making a tremendous amount of money off of this probably.
yeah, exactly. I mean, we're in the midst of coming out with our second transparency report, so that's going to hit us in the fall.
Yep.
And what we're deciding to focus on this year is looking at a specific producer. We've chosen a producer in Colombia,
Mm-hmm.
and we're looking at how much him and his family are selling his coffee for, the percentage that's going to specialty versus the percentage
Sure.
that's going to commercial, because there's always going to be that split.
Oh, of course. Sure.
And what is he able to do that he couldn't do if he was only selling to commercial?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he's building a new bodega. He used
Yeah.
to keep the coffee in his spare bedroom.
Yeah.
But now it's completely under construction. He's building a whole new warehouse sort of on his farm for that. And he's a 7-hectare farmer. It's not... It's
So this rush has really benefited him. I mean, the whole coffee rush that we've had in the last, 15 years or so, it's good for the farmer.
Yeah, I think
As long as we are cognitive of that they need to make a living.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think that what I see is that there's still a very long way to go.
Yeah.
But for people who have the terroir, they have the altitude, they have the right varieties, it's in their best interest to go for specialty because
Sure.
they're able to get a much higher price and offset their cost of production.
Sure, and it's probably of course it's going to be a better product for them because going down the commercial route definitely is probably a lesser grade of bean doesn't yield as much money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it
I
just
mean,
works that way.
for example, for the coffee we're drinking right now with Elio, he was selling to the commercial market before, but there was a bit more stress because he was looking at how the day rate fluctuated
Sure.
and when could he sell in that specific right time so he can get a marginally more amount of money. Whereas now, he doesn't have to sell for $1.40 a pound. He can sell for $3.60 a pound.
Sure.
And
It's not like the stock market anymore.
yeah, and then there's less focus on waiting till the right moment, and there's more focus on just relaxing and putting efforts into picking ripe and
Trees,
fertilizing
sure.
and that kind of thing.
Yeah, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, anything we haven't hit on that we really should talk about?
Oh,
I'm sure there's something.
I wonder what people would want to know.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot.
You guys can always write in and tell us what you would like to know. We like people to put comments on the videos down below, and hey, we can always revisit this, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're close. I mean,
Yeah, you are.
Vancouver's pretty close.
2 hours.
2 hours.
That's all it took.
Yep.
I might have to come up here more often. Oh yeah. So thank you so much, Laura, and 49th Parallel team. They showed us all around, and we're going to leave here at some point. We're going to go over and visit one of their cafes here in Vancouver. So if you get up this way, by all means, drop into one of their cafes. Their coffees are excellent. They're really good people too. That's a big part of it. When you go to visit and you feel like you guys are taking care of things and not just out for the money in it, that's good. We appreciate that.
I think there's not.
It's a lot.
I don't think any of us do it for the money.
No, I doubt that you do.
We do it because
Well,
we
thank
love
you.
coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Take care.